Okay, so I was about to go for a walk. I had put on my workout clothes and everything, but it was going to be directly after my Bible study. Well, I had to sit down, turn my camera on, and come share this word. And I hope it is as powerful to you as it was to me. So, first of all, I'm writing my book about being a trust fund baby in the unlock codes of obedience. And today's unlock code was obedience is rest. And so I studied Hebrews chapter 4, verses 9 through 10. And in the studying of that, whew, I was trying to make sure that I could connect it, make sure I understand it, make sure all of the things, right? Well, here's the scripture, Hebrews, New King James Version. There remains, therefore, a rest for the people of God. For he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his work as God did from his. So it didn't automatically resonate. I go looking deeper and I'm like, God, what are you saying? So I went back and read Hebrew 3, and then I went back and let it read Hebrew 4. And then I started hearing these thoughts around generations. And essentially, in the book of Hebrew 3, it was saying that there was a generation who could not inherit rest because they did not believe, essentially, right? Even though they saw what God did, they did not believe that God would do it again for them. And so they couldn't receive it and they couldn't enter into the promised land. So then he was going to allow another generation. So I started saying, wait, just kind of digging deeper, looking into the idea around millennials and how we are entering into this new chapter with all of the things going on. And I'm just going to share my thoughts. And I'm not trying to convince anybody to do anything. I'm just trying to unlock what I understand, which could be the idea that rest can be a spiritual technology that allows us to stop reproducing from survival. And from survival has been big on my spirit because we inherited things from our parents, from our culture, from the generations, from America, right? Like all these things, childhood. We inherited some survival tactics because we did what we needed to do to get where we needed to be. Well, my research, I started seeing how the 600,000 Black women became economically sidelined, right? And so, really, what led this thread was understanding wait, millennials is a generation that's actually taking rest serious. Millennials is a generation that's like, I'm going to take me a mini retirement. I'm not going to wait until the end of time to get my rest, to explore the world, to do things that I love with my family. I'm going to start doing it now. And I wholeheartedly believe it's because we're not just tired. We're not doing this because we're tired. It's because the terms of our labor is up for negotiation now. Because we inherited this formula of go to school, get the degree, get the respectable job, work hard, stay loyal, retire safely. And now we're like, wait, these clauses need to be up for something ain't working over here. Like, this is not what we signed up for, while simultaneously surviving recession, student debt, housing instability, the pandemic, multiple waves of layoff, the erosion of a pension, the gig economy, and now AI reconstructing work altogether. And so, Black millennials, especially Black women, were told we got to overcome this thing and be twice as excellent, be endlessly resilient, and be, soft and grateful publicly. So that's when it hit me like we're not just like abandoning the idea of work, work, work. We are saying something has to stop. We got to examine whether this life that we were trained to work is really aligned with what God called us to build. And I think that we're in a place, in a space now where people, us millennials, are actually asking these questions like, because we're not lazy, we're recalibrating. And that's what rest really is, right? Rest is allowing us to say, what preserved one generation may not be exactly what I want to have as my permanent identity, right? Because that could feel like imprisonment. Rest creates enough space and quiet time to distinguish God's voice. That's my definition, right? Like, this is what, when I speak of rest, I'm talking about not just merely sitting back, kicking your feet up. I'm talking about being still long enough so that you can hear God, so that you can tap in and say, God, is this what you have for me? And this way, every decision won't be controlled by urgency. It won't be controlled by comparison. It won't be controlled by the bill, the performance, the fear. What will people think of me? I have to do this, hurry up and buy, right? Like, it's like our nervous system was always answering before our spirit could even finish listening because of survival mode. I know. He dropped all this on my spirit this morning. He dropped all of this on my spirit this morning. So perhaps the first function of rest is not necessarily recovery, it's discernment, to give us the space to ask the questions of what ambitions actually belong to me? What fears did I inherit and who gave them to me? What is my definition of success? And what part of that did the culture hand to me, or what part of that do I truly believe? Which responsibilities has God genuinely entrusted me with, right? Like, what am I continuing to simply do or stop doing because I'm unwilling to meet myself? Am I building from identity, or am I working in hopes that the labor will finally give me one? Because you know, a lot of us live by our title. A lot of us like introduce ourselves by our title because culture has made us believe that's who we are. You're not a manager of a hotel as your identity, that is your occupation, right? So rest is not the absence of movement. Rest is the end of movement that God did not authorize. So then obedience is rest, then becomes movement without exhausting, being exhausted, or even like internal negotiation. And so when I think about Hebrews 4:10, and after doing my study, I realized that there is a beautiful paradox because the person entering God's rest cease from his own work, their own work. And then verse 11 immediately urges the believer to then be diligent as we enter into rest. So that means the Bible is not talking about passivity, it's talking about intentionality, disciple, discipline, like preparation, participation, and sometimes like just relax, lean back a little bit, lean back. My friend used to tell me that his grandma told him, lean back, like lean back. And sometimes we do have to learn to lean back because you can work hard while resting in God because you no longer have to manufacture your identity. You don't have to force outcomes. Such a beautiful time. Chase culture validation, confuse anxiety with responsibility, and trying to make God promise come true through our own human panic. And so I felt like this was so powerful and like I needed to share it. And you can physically be resting and be spiritually restless. You can literally be physically rested and be spiritually restless because you're rehearsing the fears, resisting instruction, or trying to control everything from like your sofa or from inside of your mind, trying to control the world. That's not how it goes. So maybe rest is not stopping from every area of work, but is seizing from the authorization that we gave ourselves. It may be stopping from the work that you created for yourself that God did not author for you to do. That one part of the God instructions. It's almost like the opposite of understanding the assignment. Actually, you did not understand the assignment. And so then obedience carries instructions of motion, like we sit down to hear. That's what makes rest obedience, right? We stand knowing that God already gave us an identity that we do not have to strive for. And another thing that hit me really heavy is that when a millennial is blessed, because we're right in the middle of the times, we bless up and we bless down. So we bless our grandmother, we bless our mothers, we bless our fathers, our uncles, our aunties, our older generations, but then we also gift the young folks with the ability to see that auntie is actually doing something, that my big cousin could do this, and that older people are really making stuff happen, right? And so a millennial being blessed allows everything that our parents went through and had to survive through, say, my sacrifice was actually worth it. It wasn't the conclusion, it was just part of the crossing road. And right, kind of like the saying, like, I crawled so you can walk, right? And so we were whew, all called to be inheritors. We all have an inheritance with our name on it, but are we resting long enough to receive it? Mm, that's so good to me. And so when I say obedience is rest, the code, the unlock code, is more like obedience is rest, because rest quiets every competing voice long enough for God's direction to become clear. We do not rest to abandon the assignment. We rest to stop carrying assignments He never gave us. And when we rise in rest, we move from identity of hurry up and buy to a what's mine will never pass me by. God is so good. This word is so rich. And I am so excited to release this book because this is only day 4 of like writing the unlock codes. I've already wrote the codes, but like deep studying and then writing the chapters as they emerge. And this one is so rich. And perhaps millennials are not withdrawing from work. If you're a millennial, perhaps you're just not agreeing with what they said had to be done to look and become successful. And we're withdrawing from the agreement and the belief that exhaustion is the price that you have to pay to be successful. I don't want to be burnt out. I tell people all the time, when my husband family, he will not find a burnt out, exhausted, overloaded, overworked Samela. He won't. I'm going to be rested. And I'm not going to be rested because I didn't do any work. I'm going to be rested because I walked with God. I matched God's frequency, or tried to. Clearly, we can never. But I walked with God and I tried to pace myself according to His will, because it's always better than mine. I hope this word blessed you. And I want you to remember that obedience is rest. You got this. I love you. Be great.